the Shen and Shan Show, where Shenice, my mom,
and Shan the Pan
interview with LGBTQ plus professionals and entrepreneurs.
So let's get giddy and start the show.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to the Shen and Shan Show, and I am Shan.
And I'm Shenice, and we have an amazing guest on today. Her name is Stringham, and she is currently a diagnostic medical sonographer, aka ultrasound technician, right? Jay, how do you know Jay?
Well, we actually met Jay at the HRC. Is a gala, I never know how to pronounce it, but we met her there, and I think I asked to add you on Facebook because we were kind of talking about real estate and things like that, or something like that.
We connected somehow, and we took a picture with Huck from what is it?
Scandal.
Is it Scandal?
Yes.
Scandal. Is it Scandal?
Is it Scandal? I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
It must be Scandal. Okay. I think I was thinking about Weeds too. I feel like he's in Weeds. Jay, have you watched Weeds? I feel like
I don't know.
Okay.
I've seen some of it, but it's been a long time.
Okay. Well, anyways, we took that picture with Huck. I was really excited about it. But anyways,
but I gotta tell this little story as well.
Okay.
So Jay reached out to me on Facebook about real estate, and Jay is actually one of my past clients. So I actually helped her go through the process of purchasing her first home. So that was really cool. So relationships build a rapport, and Jay just has that energy where you just feel comfortable. And so, I mean, I think we built a lasting friendship, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Jay. Please let us know about you. Give us your little short intro to give us a synopsis of your life.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for thinking about me. Well, I was born in Dallas, but I'm pretty much raised in Houston, in the Sharpstown area. I've been here most of my life. I moved to LA and lived there for about 3 years. I was a vet tech for a really long time. Worked with animals for about 16 years, but while I was in LA, I ventured out into various industries. I worked on movie sets and actually owned a food truck.
Wow.
And then I ended up moving back to Houston when my sister had a kiddo, and I've kind of been back since. So changed careers and went back to school and kind of did like a second sort of, I don't know, career change and life change all around. So here I am.
That's awesome.
So how was it owning a food truck? I'm just curious.
It was an endless amount of work. Being your own boss is hard, but it was a cupcake truck. So we, not only you had to bake and do all the prep work and then go and sell everything. So it was great. It was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot. It helped me to make me who I am today, with as far as like hustling and figuring it out and driving yourself forward and, saying this is who I am in the face of everything. But I had to take a break, and try something else. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
It sounds like it would be endless because I don't know about other food trucks, but I assume that there is some prep work, but a lot of it could be cooked on the spot.
Yeah.
I guess that means you're not really cooking on the spot at least, but
yeah,
that sounds really interesting. My family and I, we talk about it all the time because we're Jamaican. We're like, we need to do a Jamaican food truck because, restaurants are just so expensive. You wind up, if you go out of business, it's so easy. It's so much easier to go out of business when you try to do a whole restaurant. So why not a food truck? Were your expenses pretty low to get in?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, the reason we did it, well, there was a couple of reasons, but one of them, a food truck was great. I moved to LA when the recession hit, and in Houston, the recession didn't hit us as bad. We had a booming industry, like, oil and gas kept us afloat here, the medical industry. LA is a completely different story. It was something I'd never seen before. businesses just gone. Everything was for lease. You drive down a street, there was nothing there, just emptiness. And so the food trucks kind of were catching on, and we were like, well, I was struggling to get a job. I've always never not had a job. I was a vet tech. That's a very straightforward, like, you can get a job anywhere, pretty much doing anything. There's just always somewhere. Well, for me to struggle, it was hard. So we just sort of put our brains together. We did all the graphic design, everything ourselves, did the truck. Like it, I started a business from nothing. So it was pretty crazy. And I wouldn't exchange it at all. Like, this is not exactly what we meant to talk about originally, but somehow.
No, that's okay. We're gonna get into the other stuff.
Yeah.
We're just curious. That's awesome.
But yeah, it was a huge learning experience, like I said, and I did it for about 2 years. We were on movie sets, catering. We were, doing whatever we could, to make some money.
Right.
So yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your upbringing. How were you raised? And you said you grew up in Houston, right? So tell us about a little bit more on your background and upbringing.
Well, so I kind of grew up, like, we didn't have much money at all. Like, my dad was pretty much the breadwinner, and my mom started working, but when she started working, like, it was basically to pay for health insurance, so and then my family was, I don't know that it was kind of rough as far as being, I was very much a tomboy. Which was always fine, but I would hear these terms I would never use to describe people, whether they were, to be fair, slightly racist or, sexist, all of these things that I would just hear from my family. And so I think I internalized being gay for a long time. I think it was pretty much a late bloomer in life, period. So thinking about being attracted to someone didn't even cross my mind until I was like mid high school. Like, I didn't really care for that. Like, it just
Same
sort of
for
like
me.
was sort of okay. And then I remember, like, my best friend at the time was sort of like coming out, I guess, and I just was like, oh no, like, I just couldn't. I was like, how, why? And I wasn't even self-aware enough to say, yes, I'm gay. Like, that came much later. And when I remember my dad telling me I couldn't watch the Ellen show anymore because she came out. He, like, forbade us. I remember being at Disneyland on gay day and my dad using the F word, like, to describe the men walking, down Disneyland area. So now my dad today is wonderful and cries about how much he supports me, but being a kid growing up in that and not seeing any role models, not seeing anybody that, was anywhere near who I thought I could maybe be, I was like, nope, went the other, was just blind to the fact that, I was gay. So,
well, I'm sure that a lot of those experiences led up to you, starting that food truck and getting out of your comfort zones and doing different things, right? So tell us how you transitioned from, growing up in that environment to moving to LA to now back to Houston, settling down in a new career. I want to hear more about this new career. How's that transition been for you? I guess my question, when did you realize, like, okay, I need to do something different? And how did you find this new career as the diagnostic medical sonographer?
Well, I think firstly, moving to LA was like a turning point. I had to get away. I had to go, I had to figure it out. And like the ladies of the L word in West Hollywood was like, I need to be there. That's what I need. Like, let's do it, and maybe partied a little too hard in LA and I grew up, right? I grew up,
right.
I figured it out. I came back and, my family now is the most supportive. They're wonderful. Everybody is great. So, it's all fine, but it was a lot to deal with and take in. And I used partying, I used those dance floors to help work out those issues, and I'm back, and I think this is home. Houston's home to me.
Yeah.
I think, I was managing a animal hospital when I moved back, and I had just come to the point where management is hard. It's rough. I had enough. Like, you guys are adults, let's just be adults. And the babysitting was too much, and there's nowhere really else to go in the vet industry. I'd kind of reached the top, and I needed to do something else. So I kind of put my feelers out and say, okay, what speaks to me? What do I want to do? And I've always had this duality. I've had this problem where, not problem, it's actually a gift, I guess, but like pursuing art versus science. What do I do? Like, I have the mind for science. I have the, the knack for it. I love physics, all of this, but I always felt like I was going to give up on my artistic side. And it's been this push and pull I've felt my whole life. So I don't know exactly how I stumbled upon ultrasound. I worked for an internal medicine specialist at one of the vet practices, and I watched ultrasounds for a long time. And I liked it because it can, a couple of things. It's visual. So I get to use all my aspects of, like, making a picture look good, right? And understanding all the physics behind making that picture look the best I can for the radiologist to tell. Another thing that I like to do, to tell the story that I'm trying to tell. Every patient I get in front of me, they've got something going on, or maybe they don't, but regardless, I have to tell their story with these images, and to combine that with science. It's just, I don't know, I fell into it, and it was the best thing I ever did.
That's awesome.
I saved money for 2 years to put myself through school because I knew I wouldn't be able to work. You have to go like 8 hours a day. I worked some, but you can't work full time.
Right.
And then after I saved the money, I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. And I just did it, and I just never looked back.
So I know when I look at anyone, I've gotten many ultrasounds. Okay. And when I look at that screen, I have no idea what I'm looking at. I'm like, what are you seeing on there? Was it like that for you at first, or do you just have an eye for it?
I had seen some ultrasounds previously, but you learn. What I didn't quite understand walking in the door was the amount of anatomy you have to know. You have to know where everything is in multi-plane. So what connects to what, and what vessel is where, everything. So it's intense anatomy, which I didn't quite grasp, initially. But it's great. So just by knowing what is supposed to be there, you look for what is, either missing or extra, or, and it's just a lot of practice. I didn't go in the door just being a magical tech. That's what school is, it's 2 years of intense learning. So yeah.
I definitely, even when the ultrasound for the babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have trouble finding the baby. Most people say, oh, you can see them, sucking their thumb or something. I'm like, no, I just see black and white.
Yeah. You're not the only one. People tell me all the time. They're like, what is going on? I'm like, yeah,
No, that's awesome. Now, can you break down that process to becoming, an ultrasound tech? Like, what are the qualifications? Do you have to do anything special to get into school? What's the cost of school? Like, anything you can break down step by step would be great, so people can learn to say, okay, this might be feasible for me to get into or do if I'm, looking for a life change. Like, you've already broken down so well that, hey, if you like art and science, this might be the best of both worlds for that. So let us know, what did you have to do? What did it cost? What are the qualifications? How did you get the job? I'd love to dive deeper on that.
Yeah, so pretty much I did a lot of research. That was the first thing, was, okay, where I wanted the most, I guess the biggest profit for the least amount of money. And I found a great school. Houston has Lone Star Community College is great. every ultrasound program is about a 2-year program. So you come away with an associate's degree, typically. Now, there are 4-year programs, but to be honest, those are a little unnecessary because you're going to get paid the same when you come out of school.
Mm.
But there are prereqs. So every place will have different prerequisites. The college I went to had about 18 months of prereqs. So, you have to take physics, anatomy, English, stuff like that. And then the program.
But it's a part of the program, right? It's not like you have to
not
take,
the prereqs.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You have to
So
have-
this is completely separate. You need to do this before you even get into the program.
Yeah. So
So you would enroll in the college, do those courses, and then apply to the program?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And the application process is usually pretty stringent. There's not a lot of slots and a lot of people want in. So it's very tight. So all the prerequisite grades that you have need to be really high. There's a test you have to take. It's sort of like just like a college test, but the better you place on all of those things, the better position you would be to get in. Because I think that's the hardest thing is people wait year after year after year to get in.
Wow.
Because there's only like 10 slots per year.
Program or
yeah.
Wow.
So
it's like really competitive, similar to like nursing. I feel like a lot of people say nursing is also very, very competitive, that it could be hit or miss if you get into a program. It's just, I mean.
Even for me, because I started off with college, wanted to be a physical therapist, and then I fell in love with Boys and Girls Club, and I was like, I want to be a teacher. And so I taught for 5 years, and I was kind of over it, and I was like, I'm going to go back and be what I wanted to be in the first place. And I wanted to get into Texas women, very competitive. But when I went there, I had to go take all these prereqs again because I had been out of school for so long. And then they were telling me that kids were coming out of school with almost 300 hours of observation hours and GPAs that are almost 5. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to take my 3.5 GPA and just sit here and just continue to be a teacher. So I totally get it.
Yeah. It was pretty intense, but I was like, I don't have a choice. This is what I'm doing. And once I put my mind to something, I pretty much don't stop until I get there. So I
think it was awesome that you saved before doing it, just so that you can focus on getting through that. Like that is huge, because I know from personal experience that when you try to, and I work and go to school. That's all I've ever done. I've never just gone to school. Even in high school, I was working, maybe my first 2 years of high school, I didn't work. But after that, I worked. I used to actually, when I moved to Connecticut, I used to take the cheese bus. I had them drop me off to a different, part of town. Like I took the bus that went to that part of town so I could get dropped off at work. Like that's how intense I was. So I've always worked, and I know that there are certain times in my life where my grades have suffered because of it, because there's just so much going on. And so I've had points where I've had to withdraw out of a class, even when I had my daughter, it was just so much. So when you don't, have the focus and intentionality on, or have the ability to just focus on school, your grades can suffer depending on what's going on in life. And that's my personal experience. So I think that was great that you saved, and then
for sure
you went for it to get the highest possible grades, all your focus, because you know how competitive it is too.
Just working with Jay through the real estate when she was purchasing a home, I can tell she's a very detail oriented, very organized, so I just knowing that process, going through that process with her, I just know Jay is the type of person that if she put her mind to it, she's going to accomplish anything. So
you probably have a lot of patience, huh? Because I could never be like, okay, I'm going to save for 2 years and then go into this. I'd be like, no, I need to do this now. Where's the loan?
To be fair, I didn't have the entire plan, but I think that's part of the thing is I knew I needed to change, and I knew that I needed to step forward and I didn't have the whole path in front of me. I didn't know where it was going to go, but I kept taking the steps and just one after the other. And then eventually I was like, it led me to where I am. So, because believe me, I have 4 years and the student loans to prove it of my original college experience of just being lost and I was a creative writing major. Like, what am I going to do with that? Like, I was like, okay, this is second go around. I can do it right this time. I can be the gay that I wanted to be, it took me a minute to get here, but I feel like the second time was a lot better than.
Well, I think that, and that's why I have a huge pet peeve about all this pressure on high schoolers to go to these big, fancy, expensive colleges when really it's supposed to be about their journey of finding where they're finding themselves, finding their circle, finding their passions. And so it's a huge pet peeve of mine. Like, why are these people pressuring these kids to go to school and spend $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 for something they don't even have a passion for? Now, if they already have the passion, that's different, because some kids just, they know what they're drawn to. They have it, right? But some of these kids are just in there switching around. It's just a waste. Like, have your kid take a break, or maybe go, not necessarily take a break, stay in school, go to community college for a year or two, take a ton of electives, make sure that it's cheap, work a job or two, different jobs. You got to figure it out. We have to be more like, we need to seek out what's right for us. Sometimes it drops in our lap, but sometimes it doesn't. Or sometimes you have to be open enough so that when it is right in front of you, you can actually recognize it and grasp it, right? So it's
also important that parents, and I'm not trying to get on the parent soapbox, but it's important that when the kids are young, that you teach them those skills, those organization skills, those time management skills early, because if they can have those things, they can, once they get into whatever, whether they want to be an entrepreneur or go be a doctor, like if they are have those things like programmed in their head, then I'm telling you, they can, reach the stars and the moon or whatever else is out there if you just prepare them. So it's very important when kids are young that you instill those habits.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that sounds good. Now, you're in the program, you did your prereqs, you applied to the program, you're in. Did they tell you how much it was going to cost up front?
They do.
What does it range, or what did yours cost? Whatever you're comfortable with.
I think the school itself, it was actually not bad. My address was in district for the school, so I was lucky enough to not be paying as much, because you pay double for out of district. So I think school wise, it was about $5,000, which is not bad. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's not bad. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about community college and trade schools. Like, so I went to a high school that was like, everybody needs to become a doctor. Like, that's the goal. And I rebelled against it. I was like, nope, not for me, and it took me a long time to come back and say, okay, choices, and I made the choice to go back to school, but I was like, I mean, it was either nursing or this. And I just sort of wanted to do this. And again, that's the thing about community college. I feel like they're a little more upfront. Like, this is what it's going to cost you. Make sure this is feasible for you. The program was very much like, make sure you can do this. Cause there were mothers in the class. They had young kids. I'm like, I don't know how you guys did this. I mean, mad respect to you, cause it's just me, and granted, I was working. Nobody else was really working through it.
Right.
Part-time, but so I will say they were very upfront. Like, this is going to take all your time for the next 2 years. So you can just know that going in, that it's very intense.
Right. No, that's awesome. Well, $5,000 is really amazing. What is the range, like the salary range or the hourly range of what people earn when they become a diagnostic medical sonographer?
I'm sorry, I don't know how to turn that sound off.
I didn't even hear anything.
Oh, okay, good. So you start about $55,000 a year, which
for $5,000 of schooling?
Yeah, it's a very good amount of return considering.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, you can go up to very, 75 to 80,000. It just depends on the amount of experience, what route you go. So, it's not bad considering.
Not bad. I mean,
Right.
people in college, I'm sure you can attest to this, you spend a huge amount of money and have so much in student loans, and then you come out making like 30 or 40 grand.
Well,
Right.
I'm just taken back because I spent 4 years in college and was a teacher, and when I had been teaching for 8 years and still wasn't at 55K.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm like sitting here like I have about 60 grand in student loans, and I was
Mhm.
I was getting paid less than what I had in student loans.
And I
a
mean, then
year.
that goes to even what we're doing now. I'm in financial services primarily, and Shan is in real estate primarily. So in my end of the spectrum, I decided, well, I did the whole college thing, which is fine, whatever. But from a licensing perspective, which you don't need a college education for, my life and health license costs probably less than $500 between the tests, the training course,
Fingerprinting.
like the fingerprinting, all that stuff, the application with the state. That probably costs less than 500. Probably for Shan, how much did your real estate licensing
I
cost?
want to say maybe around 15 to 2 grand.
Probably 2 grand.
Yeah.
But the only thing is that when you're into these more licensing industries, you're a business owner. So you can spend that, $500 to 2 grand and then go into the industry and then make zero. Right. But there are
Right.
some, at least there are some positions in these industries where you could get a salary, you could get, you could have some of those perks. But for the most part, at least with your industry, you're going to come out and have basically a W-2 job with benefits more than likely,
Right.
which is a promised salary. So,
Yeah.
if the entrepreneurship type life and the sales life is not for you, then I think that you're on an amazing path. This is an amazing career for someone who, really wants to make a good living, change the circumstances for their family or whatever it is that they're doing, who want to maybe get out of retail, because I think most of us have worked in retail one time or another and have hated it. Look at the economy right now.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's crazy.
Right.
And even from a healthcare perspective, we always need that. That is a
Right.
necessity.
So I guess I want to ask, since you have this, degree, could it be something that you turn into a business and maybe perform the ultrasounds, but send out to a doctor to read, or I don't know how it works. So
Yeah.
is
So
that possible?
it is possible in a way. There's various things that could occur. I did do this route because it does give me a 401k. It gives me the things I have never had before. So I currently am doing that route just because I kind of need to at least start on thinking about those sorts of things, and I actually have health insurance for once. And but so we do have a license, like we're registered. So, and we cannot diagnose anything. So everything that we do has to be read by a radiologist. That goes for anything. So there is a potential of starting my own business, and I have considered that, especially circling back to going to the vet industry, because things are a little different on that side. So I could start my own business, work in the animal industry. Everything I do still has to be read by a doctor. But there is options. There's also, just like as with nursing, there's traveling. So you can set up out and do traveling contracts where you're gone for 3 months at a time working at a specific hospital. And that's more looked at like a 1099 situation. So
Right.
it's, that's still, you're working for yourself in a way. Maybe not so much the overall entrepreneur business, but so there's that option. And then there's just I mean, there are potential for doing something like that, which nobody really, like, they recommend you having at least 2 years of good hospital experience under your belt, because you kind of need to, there's so many things that you can see that are just that you need to experience them and get that time with
Right.
patient care and everything first before you kind of launch off onto your own. So
Right.
this is not my last stop for sure. Like,
Right.
I will definitely keep moving,
But that's great that you
direction
can
I don't know,
evolve
but
from here. Like you
yeah,
can grow and evolve in
yeah,
this one kind of subset of the
yeah,
healthcare industry, which is
yeah,
amazing. And
yeah,
I don't think that's a bad thing for you to, make sure you have a couple years of hospital experience because then you can build some relationships and,
yeah,
figure that part out for your business. You don't want to go in and just open up shop and then you have no customers. You want to have some relationships, some a path forward, figure out how that industry works in general.
yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. This show is supported by the Empower Team, your queer real estate professionals. Based in the Houston, Texas area, we can help you buy, sell, lease, or invest in Houston real estate. If you're not in the Houston area but want to start or add affordable rental properties to your portfolio, we'd love to help. And if you're looking for homes in your own area, we can still help you find an LGBTQ plus friendly real estate agent, a service we provide for free. Please reach out to us at homes@empowerteamtx.com. That's HOMES at EMPOWERTEAMTX.com.
So I'm curious, what does your day-to-day look like when you're actually at work?
Well, right now things are looking a little bit different than they would normally do because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But I there's a there are different ways that patients can come and visit the imaging department, right? You're either coming in as an outpatient through the emergency room or you're an inpatient in the hospital. So from my perspective, it's sort of I see all of those different types of people. I see people coming in from the ER. I deal with outpatients who are generally less critical, or it's a more routine sort of, hey, what's going on with these guys. And then I see inpatients and people in ICU. So it's sort of all over the place, which I like that every day, that no day is the same. That is very important to me. Like I need
Right.
to shake it up. I need
Yeah.
to I can't do monotony. So it's great in that aspect of things. And when I get to talk to people a little bit, it's not a very long conversation, but I get to, hear a little bit about their experience, and that's always cool, just what they're kind of going through and or whatever they want to talk about for those 15, 20 minutes that I have them. So, and I do that, time and time again with each patient of the day. So it just sort of, I guess that's kind of the gist.
How many patients do you typically see in a day?
Um, it depends. It could be anywhere just like one an hour, so like maybe like 7 or 8, or it could be, I mean, 12 to 14. And that's just my experience. Every hospital is going to be different. As far as how many, if it's a super slow day, it may be less than that 7 or so. So
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
So another question for me, because I'm curious, how important is your job to identify, let's just say if someone has a tumor or cancer or some type of disease, how important is your job to make sure that is, coming out in that picture? Because you can be an ultrasound tech and not find that tumor, right? Or
Right.
so how important is your job?
Well, so I mean, in certain things, so under the imaging umbrella, you have CT scans, you have X-rays, you have MRI, you have ultrasound. There are certain things that certain modalities are better to identify. So there are things where anything with a baby, ultrasound is we're the one.
Okay.
You're gonna anything, because they're not want to use. We don't use radiation. We only
Right.
use sound to propagate. So we're not causing harm. Whereas with CT, with MRI, there's radiation involved, and they're not going to just jump to that if there's a little fetus, to inside of a mom. So for that, we are number one. So and I am the eyes. I am the eyes of the radiologist. So I have to know what I'm looking at, and I have to be confident in what I am seeing. And if I you know obviously that comes with time and experience, and learning how to take the picture, even if you don't know exactly what you're looking at, is very important, because that's what the radiologist is there for. They're there to say, yep, this is what this is, confirm what you're seeing, and call it officially. We're there to, oh, something's wrong here. I may not know exactly what it is, but I need to take the best images I can to tell the best story I can of what's going on. And
Okay.
so yeah, so I would say with like anything with like pelvic female issues, and babies, we're like the top of the list as far as.
Oh yeah, I've had plenty. I have what do they call it? I need to go actually get a checkup, but I have a dermoid cysts, and I've
Oh wow.
struggled with them since I was in high school, and
Mm.
I actually have had it removed. I've had one, a huge one, and they've had to laparoscopically remove it, and the doctors are like, look, you're going to keep having them. They're just going to keep growing back. And so they were like, they even sent me to see a fertility doctor. I was probably like 15. But the reason why is because, like, you know, I was going from specialist to specialist with this issue.
Right.
And it was causing me so much pain. And the fertility doctor was just like, look, you need to hurry up and go to college, get married, and have your kids. Because if you keep getting operated on, you know, to take it out, then you may not be able to end up having any kids, or have the more, you know, it eats away. So, but yeah, I've had plenty of ultrasound. So yeah, all the pelvic issues. So and I do, I encourage everyone to make sure, well, first of all, I have a whole thing and pet peeve about doctors, but we need to be selective. Like when you go to see a doctor, don't just settle. You know, shop around like you would for anything else, and find the right person for you, so that you can make sure you're getting the care and the suggestions that you need in order to make sure whatever's going on. Usually you're not crazy, you know, like
correct.
And if something is wrong, it might take someone different to get whatever is going on with you diagnosed, or whatever the case may be. So but that's my spiel about doctors. And, you know, just shop around just like you would on, you know, Amazon versus Walmart versus Target for, I don't know, some game system you might want. You should shop around for your doctor.
I 100% agree with that. And I've had my own issues with the healthcare industry, like being a patient. Like, I feel like no one ever listens to me. They just look at me like I don't know. I don't know if it's the way I look or what happens when I go into that room with a doctor and I come out and I'm just like, wait, what? Like,
and I think a lot of people in the LGBTQ community struggle with that. I mean, that's a big issue.
It is.
We were talking to Jason one day, and we were talking about how even sometimes the doctors and nurses don't really know, like, just about the community in general, and don't know how to approach different things, or how to, or even the proper tests for people to take that are needed, and that's a huge issue. So that's really interesting. Shan, well, Shan has a pretty good doctor, but you know, she's a diabetic, so she's very well taken care of. But we haven't dove out into like specialists, because that's where I feel like we would run into the most like issues, almost like, you know.
Yeah. I haven't had any issues that I know of. When it comes to my sexuality, going to the doctor, so I am blessed there. So yeah. So another question I have: do you see yourself doing this until you retire?
So I will say one of the pitfalls of being a diagnostic medical sonographer is it is hard on your body. Your shoulder will give out because your arm is constantly sort of out in this space trying to get whatever images you need, and you often have to sacrifice yourself because patients can't move. They, you know, you're trying to do the best you can, and it's a difficult situation. So ergonomically, I have heard that this is something that you have to kind of prepare for. No going in. Now, of course, everyone's different, and you got to take care of yourself through that. So I have to keep that in mind, that my body may not make it, you know, and, you know, there's always a potential of moving up more into management, director positions in hospitals. So that's always another route to go that I've kept open. I don't know that I'll do it till I retire. I try, it's weird. It's a good career. It was always something I will always keep my license active, and I will always potentially probably work in some capacity. But I don't know. I won't say it's my last stop on career changes. I'm only 36, and that's,
Yeah.
I
Really
don't
young.
know. Yeah. I don't know what's next.
That's awesome. Now, are you out at work? Would you say that everyone pretty much knows that you're a part of the community, and do they embrace you? Do you have any issues there?
So yeah, so with that, when I was in school, I was definitely like the only, like, when you walk into a room being a queer person, the first thing you look at for is anyone. Is anyone in here queer? You search the room and you're like, okay, wait, maybe, or you're just trying to find your family, right? Like,
Yeah.
so in school, I was the only person, and I actually found a friend towards midway through that I was like, oh, cool. But I was my school was out in Sci-Fair, which and it's I'm not saying it's not it's a lot of moms, it's a lot of suburbs, and a lot of the hospitals we were at were community hospitals. Like, I was out in Tomball, I was out in Conroe, which is we're still ultimately in Houston, but it's, I feel like, just less diverse.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like I give it away, like I look like a queer in my opinion, but in scrubs, I guess maybe people don't see that. So it's always, I always have to test the water. People will say, so do you have a boyfriend? I'm like, okay. Which way, what do I do here? And I'm not in a relationship. So I'm like, well, no, I don't have a girlfriend either. Like, or whatever version of that to say, okay. And am I safe with this person? You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just never something, and you don't know. Like, when I was in school, I was worried that was going to reflect badly upon me. Like, I had to have a very normal haircut. Like, I mean, I couldn't be out here just looking like a queer, and like, I had to feel like I had to tone everything down so much. And so luckily enough, the hospital that I'm at, I love the people that I work with, and one of the sonographers I work for, like, kind of took me under her wing, sort of. And with that, like, I just feel like I had, I spread my wings and I could fly. Like, for some reason, she had my back. And the reason it happened, she was like, I think she was trying to put an olive branch, because I'm naturally kind of shy. And she was like, hey, so this is my sister, and like showed me, her like super stud sister, I think, like on her Instagram. And I think that was her way of going, you're safe with me,
Right.
And so with that, and having someone kind of there, it was helpful. And I mean, this is me. I mean, I've been out for, oh God, how long? Since I was like 21 or something. So 15 years, I guess. And so even still, I mean, I still struggle with, okay, is this safe? Is this, is this going to reflect poorly upon? How is this going to go? And even in this day and age, I still was like, I don't know how this is going to go,
So I have those moments, I feel like, where I'm asking myself, is it safe? But I feel like I'm kind of over it now, to some extent. And I'm just like, I'm trying to be more, I guess, unapologetic about me just being me. Like, and it's hard. It's really, really difficult. Yeah. Now, what I wanted to ask you is, do you think that that question you're always asking is, am I safe? Is this safe? Is this person safe? Is this environment safe? Where do you think that comes from? Is it from your childhood with your family? Where do you think that kind of stems from? Is it something you've always asked yourself, or is it just the general climate of where we are right now?
So I will say, I got to a point where I was like, I think school made me reevaluate things. I was back in a classroom, and it made me put me back in that weird mindset of like, okay, like back in high school again. I just was sort of like, oh God. And everything I had built, I was like, I'm a strong queer and screw the world. I just was like, okay, wait, can I be that person here? And I did, it was all fine. And I came around, but it made me just question everything.
Right.
But yeah, I think for sure, like being a kid and just not knowing if I was going to be okay. Like, and nothing traumatic happened to me, but just being told that these people are not okay. You're not allowed to see these people. Or like, I had a friend who her mom was a lesbian. I wasn't able to go over there anymore, so those sorts of things, I think for sure still echo in my ear sometimes. I try to fight it, and I try to say, here I am, and screw everybody else. But I do think that a little bit of the times maybe, but I don't even know if that's what it is so much. I think it's more of a self-hating thing that I just have to, like, I've very much worked through, but it still comes up and shows itself just based on childhood, I think.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk a little bit about your coming out story with your family?
Yeah. So my coming out story is a little bit different. So when my first boyfriend when I was 16 actually decided to transition. So he became her, and I had to become that person's, like, like I was fighting for them. I fought the world, I fought my family, I fought everybody for them. So I went to war in that way, I guess. But it wasn't until I mean, to be frank, like the L word, and seeing like what, women loving women and just that sort of experience, did I really turn inward and say, okay, like, maybe this is for me. So, I mean, the first time I went on a date with a girl, I was like, yep, I am done. That's it. This is my life. And then it slowly started happening. I came home, I talked to my mom, and I was like, yeah, Mom, I'm into chicks, like, and she was like, I mean, well, kind of did that. And I was like, nope, not going back. And I mean, she was fine after that. I mean, after that conversation, it was okay.
My mom is the sweetest. Oh my God.
My dad, I think he was fine. I was the one, he was my coach. I'm a daddy's girl, I guess, ultimately at the end of the day. So he came around because he had to, because I told him, I mean, you're going to lose me otherwise. So, and the rest of my family, I mean, they just didn't talk about it really. Like, most of my grandparents have since passed, so it doesn't really matter at this point, but I think more than anything, I was my own worst enemy. I had to come to terms with myself, and that took me a long time. And I used like alcohol as my crutch, and I had a lot of stuff I had to work through and figure out. I have since found therapy and whatnot, the more adult choices. No, but big gay bars and that was my home. That was where I was like, okay, this is where I feel safe. So I spent a lot of time and years just coming to terms with it myself. It wasn't an overnight. I mean, it was overnight in that, yes, this is my choice, but it was, how do I be gay in this world? Right? Like, what does that mean?
And be you, because you really didn't even know you at that point, because you'd been suppressing it, right? So yes, you weren't even really sure,
right? And
who you were to you.
Correct. Totally.
So because we kind of have a similar story.
You had a boyfriend?
Oh, well, I didn't have a boyfriend. I had a boyfriend in 10th grade, but I only had him because my family was starting to ask questions.
So you were trying to play a strategic undercover move.
As far as, actually having a relationship and being sexual with a guy, never. But I'm saying, as far as like, I didn't really realize that I was gay until I was probably my senior year. And I didn't actually start, talking to girls or doing anything with girls, to keep it PG, until I was around 19. And so I'm what you call a late bloomer, but it was
see, everyone says that, but I feel like a really large percentage of the LGBTQ community that at least we talk to, I feel like a lot of them feel like they're late bloomers. And
well, so, when I say late bloomer, like basically
maybe
not
from general society, maybe, but not in the community, I don't think, because a lot of people that we've talked to, I feel like they're saying, oh, it was in my 20s or my late 20s or my 30s even that, these things kind of came to light to me, or I came into myself. So I don't.
Well, I guess when I say for me, it's just been like, okay, well, I don't care. This is me. I didn't do that because since I was little, I mean, I knew something was different about me when it came to gender, right? So, but I fought through it, and I grew up in a small town, Baptist. I'm Black. It's just something that is hard for everyone to come out, and when you're gay and at a young age. Now I see these kids now; they're like in middle school, and they're like, "I don't care." I was like, "Man, I look up to y'all because
Right.
that would have been me when I
Yeah.
was your age, you know."
Yeah, there's no way. I was so shy and just I just wasn't that self-aware, I don't think. I just was like, I don't know. I wear basketball shorts and gender for sure, like you said, was definitely where I was like, yeah, I'm more of a tomboy. Sexuality came later for me.
Yeah.
Gender was more like, yeah, I remember being like, well, wish I didn't have these boobs and like stuff like that, like puberty was awful. Like I've come to terms with it, but
But I'm not like, I'm out to people that I know, but the household I grew up in, I'm not out, which is crazy because if you look at me, you're like, come on now.
And by that, she means she hasn't had a formal conversation. Which I don't even think that needs to happen. I don't think that any of us owe it to anyone.
I just feel like I'm hiding still.
Well, you are. Yeah. You definitely are. It's more of it's. I don't want to make it about them. I want to make it about you.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of us owe it to anyone to have any type of formal conversation. It's not for them. It's for you. So more importantly, it really just needs to be, okay, Shan, when you gonna come out of the hole in the wall? Like, when you gonna come out of hiding? Which is,
I feel like I did with the whole magazine thing.
She's not really hiding though. She's just
haven't had the conversation.
I mean, Shan had it on social. She was gayest and greatest real estate agent.
Oh, I saw. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, she's not really hiding. She's just not having the conversation.
But the anxiety that I have that I posted that, nobody knows. I have anxiety.
Right.
Like, I wanted to call my aunt 3 days ago and talk to her, but I was just like, I feel uneasy. So today, when I thought she was gonna kind of like be dry with me, but she wasn't. Like, still her same self. So I'm just like, when I'm gonna be able to tell her that she's my world.
Did she like that post?
No, she doesn't really like any of my posts.
You should send it to her on Messenger.
I'm not gonna do that. But my mom knows. But my mom did not raise me, so
okay.
But yeah, so I just say in that aspect,
you want me to do
coming
it?
out later. I feel like everybody I've ever dated want to tell my aunt, but no. I will tell her when I'm ready.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I mean, you have to weigh things sometimes, like, I mean, you have to come out in your own time, and you have to, it's just, there's no one way to do it. And, I know, like, I say I'm a late bloomer, but maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe not.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Okay. Well, that sounds really good. I love that story. Now, your first boyfriend, I have a question on that. Yeah. The first boyfriend you had, you were attracted to him?
Yeah, I went into the hetero. I just was like, I didn't even, honestly, gay was not even something on my radar. I mean, you have to think back, like, I don't know. It was never something that really crossed my mind until later. I don't know why. I think I just
I was gonna ask, was he pretty feminine? And I know he wound up transitioning, but I was gonna ask, do you think that you were attracted to him because he was a little more on the feminine side, or were you friends? Was it the person he was, or she was?
Well, it's weird because they have since gone a different way, but no, I mean, he was a dude, but in a way that was like very much like fought for feminism. Like, I guess, I don't know if like a feminist, I guess, and just was very like in that way very not like your typical, dude, I guess. But
I like a Jaden Smith, huh? Like
yeah,
Will
yeah,
Smith's son. Like if I
yeah,
want to wear a dress, let me wear a dress type person.
yeah, sort of, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it just I don't know. I mean, I literally, I mean, and I still, I mean, I loved him. Uh, but I just have since gone a different way,
Yeah.
And at the time I really, it wasn't a lie. That's my life. That's what I felt. And, but I think a lot of things, I mean, I at some point, I'm going with they now because they decided that I think they were more aware that I was gay than I knew. So they'd be like, "You want to watch this movie?" And like try to do all these things to like line up the cards for me. And I was like, and finally I came to terms with it. But it took me a while to get there. It took longer than I like to admit, really.
Do you think maybe it was like that because of how you say your family kind of treated the LGBT community, some of the comments and things like that? Do you think you probably was trying to fight it subconsciously?
For sure.
Yeah.
And like with using that as fuel, I have my sister has 3 kids, and I don't know, I mean, percentage wise, one of them is probably gonna be family, but who knows? And I with them regardless, it is my duty to be that role model for them that I did not have as a kid,
Yeah.
And that to me is like, by saying, my niece loves me to death. And, but she'll ask me all the time, Jay, are you a boy or a girl? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of in between, and I mean, and she'll ask me repeatedly. And I think she just wants a black and white answer. She's at that age where everything is black and white. And
Right.
I live in gray. Like that's my life. So,
but you're normalizing that, which is amazing for those kids.
Right.
So a lot of kids don't have gray answers as a normal. And I think that's so, I think keeping kids open can do so much for them.
Yeah.
Just even it helps kids become more critical thinkers. Like there's just so much to it where when we don't live in a black or white world, or when we live in a world where we're allowed to question, where we're allowed to have different answers, where we're allowed to not really know or be somewhere else, like I think it does wonders for kids, and they can better understand a lot of life's experiences and situations later on. They're going to be much more well prepared and more mature, just in general. I mean, you think about the adults who aren't even mature enough to understand or care to understand or be open enough to even listen to some of this stuff. That's because they probably lived in a black and white world to date. Like that's all there is. There is no in between. There's no changing. And
I think a term I saw today is taming kids. Like you shouldn't tame your kid. I think I read something like that. Or Rachel, wonderful Rachel. She's all, she's wonderful. And I think it was something she posted about taming. And I think a lot of kids are being tamed by their parents. And that's something that we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Well, and it's weird because I don't even know where they get it sometimes. Like they'll say something which I know that their parents didn't say to them. I mean, and I exist and I know that I didn't say. Like it's something that I guess the other kids are saying, like, well, girls have long hair and boys have short hair. And I'm like, you can have whatever length of hair you want. Where did you get this? I don't ask them that, and I don't make it a thing, but I just say, you don't have to have whatever hair whoever is telling you, I mean, do what you want.
Completely agree. And that's not what I'm big on. I'm like, who made that rule?
Yeah.
Because I want to make my own. So show me who made that rule and who said that that's the way it has to be, because that's just not true. Like, it's just not.
It's so funny because I see all her pets in the back.
I know. They're like,
I know they're walking in, and I meant to shut the door, but
it's so funny. That's so cute. Okay, well, that's awesome. I love your story. I mean, everything that you've said has clearly made you into the person and guided you on this path and this journey to where you are today. I think I'm ready to transition into our wrap-up questions.
Well, we got one last. I can't let my buddy go without this. Are you in a relationship?
Oh,
you never know who's listening,
All right, I like that plug. No, I'm not. I'm definitely single and ready to mingle. No. I've been happily single for a while, but I think I'm to the point now where I'm like, all right, like let's see what happens,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, I had to give that plug.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down. Single and ready to mingle. That's awesome.
All righty. Now we're gonna get ready for our wrap-up questions. So, you ready?
I guess so.
All right. It's nothing major, but
I know.
just some things we want people to just hear and kind of get an idea of what the people are thinking. You want me to start?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, what would you say is your best money habit?
I would say saving money. Just being fiscally responsible. There's different ways that I've done it over the time. Like I will take cash out and this is the cash I can spend and that's it. That's all I got. I budget myself. Because I think savings and it's hard to do. It is hard to do when you're barely making it and you're barely scraping by, and you can't always, and you can't beat yourself up about it. But when you can, that's what I would say is my best.
Do you have a certain amount that you save out of your paycheck monthly?
Or a percentage or a goal?
I always have a goal. I put it away. I save it. Let's see, what would be the percentage there? I mean, it's probably about a quarter of my paycheck as best as I can. It doesn't always happen, but things come up,
Alrighty, Vic.
Alrighty. Where do you find your motivation?
At the kids, man. The kids give me a lot of motivation. It's just everything they do is just the youth, the energy, and it just makes me want to fight to change the world, for them.
And when you say kids, you mean your nieces and nephews, right?
Yeah. And, kids in general, but yes, those are the kids that I have contact with. But yeah, I would say that.
How old are
they?
At this
point, 9, 6, and 5.
Oh my gosh, those are such good ages.
Yeah.
My daughter is 9. She's about to be 10 next month, and she's kind of growing out of her.
Hit those double digits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but oh my gosh,
cool.
such sweet age. I mean, she's still really, really sweet, but you can see there are certain things like
a little
she's
more
just not about. She's like, you don't have to hold my hand.
Like, that hurts a little bit.
She's 10 going on 20 though. Maybe
sassy, huh?
30,
A little sassy
but
sometimes.
she's a sweetheart, really smart. So yeah.
She's like, I'm like, my name is Mommy. She's like, no, it's Mom. I'm like,
all right. Oh yeah.
Anyways, that's so sweet. I love it.
Alrighty. What advice would you give to someone in the LGBTQ community that would like to advance in their career or level up in their business?
I think the biggest thing I can say, and this is kind of how I live my life, is just take that first step forward and then just keep walking. Doesn't matter how slow it is and what pace you're going, but just try to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And you may not have the whole answer. You may not know even what you're doing some days, but just keep walking, just keep going forward. And that journey will take you, to somewhere you maybe not even imagined, or maybe you make your wildest dreams come true. I don't know, but I would say that would be just keep growing, keep trying, keep moving forward. Yeah.
Okay.
Love that. Now, do you have a favorite book or a podcast or something that you kind of learned from or anything?
Wow. I don't know, really. I mean, I've listened to anything that has anything queer related. I'm pretty much into it. But I don't know. Put me on the spot.
That's okay.
I don't really have a good plug there.
Okay. Do you listen to podcasts?
A little
or
bit.
YouTube or any of those?
Not necessarily.
No.
Or the Shen and Shan
what is it?
Show
Social media?
Your new favorite podcast.
There you go. I didn't even know y'all were doing this. So yeah, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Your question.
Alrighty. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Like in total free time? I do like being active, working out. I swim, so I try to do that. I try to do something artistic. I write a lot, actually. I don't really make that a public statement. It's not something that I do for anyone else. I just sort of do it for myself. But that's kind of how I get through. And I was a creative writing major, so poetry is like but I'll do that, and I hang out with my family really at this point.
Love it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Now, we're at the end. Please tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, how they can reach you, follow you, maybe send you a note, whatever the case may be. How can we get in touch?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, just J Stringham. It's pretty straightforward. I also have Instagram, but my Instagram is sort of an old handle from a while back. It's Dark Horse Design, this company I was trying to go forward with. It's DARC Horse Design. And then just my email, I guess, is Janell, JANELL.stringham, STRING @gmail.com. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Alrighty, Jay. I really, really appreciate you, agreeing to this. And I think what you're doing with yourself, with your career, is very inspirational. I mean, I've only known you for a few years now, but definitely.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Time flies.
I think it's been about 2 years.
Yeah,
Probably.
Almost 2
it must
years.
be maybe two and a half years, something like that.
But just working with you, doing, when you're purchasing your home, just how, together you were, I really, really admire that, because I love to see the community doing well and growing and prospering. So I want to thank you for that. And
finding their light
Right.
on the path, right? Just kind of going through your journey. And thank you for being willing to share that journey and to share some of these details of what you've gone through and what you've encountered on the way to where you feel like you were supposed to be, that next right step. I think every step is a right step, but it just doesn't feel that way sometimes in that moment.
Yeah.
But for you to get somewhere where you feel like, okay, this is it. This feels good. I'm gonna stay here for a little bit, and then we'll see what comes next. I think that's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I just want to say thank you to you guys, because I feel like you guys are huge inspirations. Like, both of you are very strong,
thanks.
and just I love it. Like, it's great to see people that are so positive and doing good things, and because we need that out there. So I appreciate that y'all are doing that.
Definitely. No, thank you, Jay. Alrighty, we're looking forward to seeing you flourish. And yeah, definitely. So we'll see you soon, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching.
Like, subscribe, and share the video to your friends. In the comment section down below, write how good the video was.
And if you're listening to the podcast, make sure to hit a 5-star review.